Okay, is my screen visible to you? Just give me a reply in the chat so we can start. Okay, okay, okay. So welcome to lecture number 5 of the mobile application development. So what we have seen in the last lecture, that is in the lecture number 4, is we started with unit number 2 and we were getting familiar with the Android development environment. So we were trying to see which are the important softwares we require in order to perform the Android app development, and what is the editor or the IDE that we have for the Android app development, and what kind of project structure that we have. So we started with the project structure for the Android, or we can say it as a project directory structure more specifically. Now we said for the Android project structure, we have three important files at the top. The first file that we had is something called as a manifest file. Then we had a Java file, and then we had a resource file. Now we said that the actual source code that we are going to write, or the actual business logic that we are going to write, that will be present inside the Java folder, while the additional resources that will be required by our Android application, such as it may require a file, it may require some additional font, it may require some additional color definition, okay, it may require some additional icon. Such kind of resources will be present inside the resources folder. Now we started getting familiar with each folder. So we said that a Java folder is there, and as we already said, it will consist of the business logic. And if we see the Java code, if we see the Java folder here, we can see here are three subfolders available. So one is com.example.testapp L4, com.example.testapp L4, and com.example.testapp L4. But this particular three subfolders has some small difference in this. So if you see the last two folders, it contains a word that is called as test. So we can say that these last two folders are for the testers, while this particular folder is for a developer. So whatever the code that we are going to write, we are going to write inside the first subfolder of the Java folder. Now the resources we started with, there are various subdirectories inside the resources. So we said that resources was containing a drawable folder, a layout folder, a map folder, and the values folder. Now the important thing is we have to understand what do you mean by each subfolder in the resources directory. So inside the res, means resources directory, the first subfolder that we have is a drawable, and we already said whatever the images that we require in our Android app, that will be present inside the drawable folder. So it might be possible your Android app may have some kind of icon. Your Android app might contain some kind of image or some background image. So any kind of image resource you have to put inside a drawable folder. Now this image can be of any type. This image can be a PNG, this image can be a JPG image, or this image can be a vector image, anything. Just the thing is, if you have any kind of image resource or drawable resource, you will be putting inside a drawable folder. Then layout. Now as we said, the activity is nothing but the user interface in an Android app. Now what we did, for an activity, the business logic we were writing inside the Java file. So for example, if I go here, I can say main activity is the activity which will display one user interface. Now it will have two perspectives. One is the business logic perspective of the activity, and that will be present inside the main activity.java file. While the user interface part, will be available under the layout folder. Now each activity's user interface will be available inside a .xml file. Now you can see, if I say the main activity its business logic is inside a main activity.java, but its user interface is inside the main activity.xml. And this is how the main activity.xml looks. Now, as you can see, if I take a preview of this, if I take the preview of this, you can able to see it here. Okay, so here we have the user interface design, and the corresponding code for designing the user interface is present here. Of course, you can work in both ways. You can either go by writing the XML code, or you can work with the drag and drop. Okay, so similar to your NetBeans, you can work with the drag and drop also, or you can also work with the code. But personally, my recommendation will be go with the XML code rather than using the drag and drop, because this drag and drop is not that much sophisticated, as compared to the NetBeans. Then we said that it has the mipmap folder. So that is the folder which contains the icon that will be displayed on your home screen. So whenever you install any app, what you have is basically is something called as the icon of the app, through which the app can be identified. So here you can see this particular icon can let me know that this particular app belongs to the Amazon. With this icon, I can identify that this is a specific Airtel app. Okay, so such kind of icons that will be displayed on your home screen should be put inside the folder that's called as a mipmap. Now, if you see the structure of the mipmap, here we have variety of number files. So we have iclauncher.png. Again, we have the iclauncher.png. But if you see it carefully, here we have the density of each file or each icon. So HDPI is basically the icon which will be automatically used for the smaller screen size devices. If your screen size is medium, then it will automatically switch to this particular PNG. If your device size is higher than that, it will switch to this particular PNG. So depending upon your device screen size, it will automatically switch the icon of the app. Because we said the Android app in the current situation will not only for the mobile devices, but variety of devices are running the Android now. So that's why you may design this app for a mobile, you might design this particular app for the Android TV, or it might be possible you may design this particular Android app for the wearable devices. Okay, so according to the device screen size, the corresponding icon file will be chosen automatically in order to render the app properly. So this is what the mipmap is. Again, it has the two subfolders. One is the simple IC launcher and simple IC launcher round. So IC launcher will display the icons in a square window, while the IC launcher underscore round will display the icons in the rounded way. So this is typically for a stock Android, and this is for the custom UI. Now, along with that, we have one more folder, and that is basically called as the values folder. Now, as you can see here, the values folder. Now, values folder consists of the XML files which contains the values. Now, which values it can contain? It can contain some of the constant values of strings or colors or some style definitions. Now, this feature allows us to declare some value at once, and we can use it anywhere. Okay, let me give you an example. Suppose if you are trying to create an app which will communicate with the server. Okay, so suppose I'll have some method here. So let's say void send request. Now what it does is it basically sends the request to the server. Okay, now what we require here is string server IP. String server IP. Now what we can have here is we can define the server IP here. So let's say string server IP, and let's say our server is something like that. 190, something like that. Now since it's a string, we'll be putting this value inside a single quote. Now the thing is, when I declare such a string that is server IP, this will be local to this particular class main activity. Now if I create one more class, some other activity, I need to redefine this particular string, okay, which can be a problematic. So in every class I am creating, I need to redefine this particular string called as a server IP, which might create a problem in a very large applications. So rather than doing this, I can declare this particular server IP at a single place and I can refer it at anywhere. So where I can define it, since it's a string, I'll be going to the strings.xml and here I can define this particular string. So let's say it's a string. Now name, as I said, its name will be server IP, and then you can define the server IP here. Okay, so here I have declared the server IP in a centralized location. Now I can refer this server IP feed anywhere in any class. Okay, so I have just declared it once and I can refer it at the multiple times. Okay, so if I want to change the value of the server IP, I will just change at this particular single place and it will be reflected at all other sites. Okay, for example, now if I want to refer this, how I'll be referring it? I'll be referring it in this way. So let's say we can see string server IP, or let's say I'll call it as a server, and how we can refer this. So I can say server is equal to get is equal to server is equal to get resources dot, I can say get string, and here we can type the ID of the string that we have created. Now we know the ID of the string that we have created was having the name as server underscore IP. So now we can call it here it as server underscore IP. Get string server underscore IP. Okay, so in this way we can refer the corresponding string from the XML file. Just have to remember that whatever the constant values are there, we are declaring it here. So for example, if I want to create some color which will be used in our app, I can create a color here. So let's say color name is equal to, let's say, my favorite color, and here I can declare the favorite color. So currently this will be a black, and you can choose the color from here. So you can click on this particular color and it will allow you to choose your color. So I'll be choosing this color as red. Okay, now wherever I am referring the color as my favorite color, it will automatically refer this color as red. Let's see the example. So here if I want to make this button background as red, okay, how we can do that? So let me choose to the design view. Now as you can see, this button is currently displayed in a gray background. If I want to make its background as red, then what I can say is button background is equal to, then since it is defined into the colors.xml, I'll simply go to the @color, and the color we have defined as my favorite color. And now you can see if I name it as my favorite color, it will automatically go into the colors.xml, find out the string with the name my favorite color, and it will automatically choose that particular color and apply it to the button background. So this is what the exact meaning of the values folder. So it basically consists of some of the constant values that you are going to refer somewhere else. Okay, so it follows the philosophy of declare once, and use it anywhere. Okay, so rather than creating the multiple replicas of same data, you can use a single copy of the data, okay, and use it multiple times or use at the multiple locations. I think this particular values folder is clear to you. Of course we are going to use it afterwards, okay, but I think for now this particular thing is clear to you. Values folder, does anyone have any doubt regarding to the folder structure of the Android project or the directory structure of the Android project? If anyone has any doubt, please ask. Of course we are going to deal with this particular folders later on when we going to actually create our apps. Okay, there you will be going to understand these folders in a better way, but have you got some basic idea about this? If you have any doubts, please ask. Have you got any basic idea about this, or if you have any doubt till now in this the directory structure, you can ask. If there is no doubt, we can proceed further. Yeah, should we? Okay, I think there is no doubt. Yeah, so I think there is no doubt. So we'll go further. Now, there is one important folder that we have reserved here, and that folder is basically called as the manifest folder. Now, why I reserved this particular folder? Because it contains some of the important information about your Android application. So this can be considered as the most important, or we can say the most essential folder of every Android app that should have. Now, as we said here, the manifest folder consists of a manifest file, okay, and this file is typically an XML file named as the Android manifest.xml, okay, and whenever you create any of the Android app, it must contain the Android manifest.xml. So you cannot have any app without the manifest.xml. Now, as we have already said, this is the most important file of any Android app. Okay, now why this is so important? Because it contains the information about our app. It contains the important information about our app. Now, what kind of important information? It contains the important information such as the Android version of the app. Then what are the access permissions that will be required by our app? In short, we can say this particular file consists of the metadata about our app. So what kind of features our app provides, or what are the components of our app are there that will be available inside the manifest file. Additionally, we can say this particular file is a mediator between the app and the Android OS. Now, why is it so? We are going to see it. But just remember, there is one folder that is basically called as the manifest folder. And if I expand this manifest folder, you can see there is one file available, and that is called as the Android manifest.xml. Now, currently we are not interested in understanding the structure or the components of manifest. Since we are just looking at the Android project directory structure, we just say that there is a particular folder which is called as the manifest, and it consists of one XML file by default, that is Android manifest.xml, which contains the metadata about your app. Okay, now so far we have seen three important folders. One is the Java, which is going to contain the source code or the business logic. Another is the RES, which is called as the resources, which consist of the important resources required by your app. These are the non-code resources. And the manifest, which basically consists of the information about your app. Okay, so it consists of the additional information about your app, such as what are the components of your app, what kind of feature it provides, such kind of thing. Then there is one more last folder as such we can say available, but it is not so much useful for us. Okay, and that is basically called as the Gradle script. Now what is a Gradle? It's a basically called as a build system. Okay, so whenever you build a specific project, you can either build that particular project by typing the commands, or there are some certain build plugins available which will automate this particular task. So once you perform a coding, this particular plugins will automatically execute these commands and build a project for you. Okay, and here we have such a particular plugin or script which is called as a Gradle. Okay, you might have heard, if you are working with Eclipse, there is one build system that's available, and that is called as Ant build. Okay, so such kind of plugin you might have heard. If you are working with some advanced technology in Java, you might have heard something called as Maven. Okay, so similar to that, there is one plugin available for the Android, and they are calling it as a Grader. Okay, so it defines how the project should be built, and it automatically builds a project to you. So this is about the directory structure of the Android. Now what we are going to see is something important today, and that is basically called as logging in the Android. Okay, now whenever you start any operating system, okay, or whenever you start a Linux operating system, you might see that there are number of messages displayed on the OS. Okay, so this particular messages which are displayed on the OS, these are nothing but called as the logs. So basically, for displaying the logs or for reading the logs, there is one tool available inside Android, and this particular tool is basically called as a logcat. This tool is called as logcat. Now the information about logcat is given here. So logcat is basically a window, or we can say it's a command line tool. Now why this is basically used? Now this is basically used to see the system or app generated logs. Now as we said, the logs are nothing but some messages generated by your app, or it can be generated by the operating system. So if you want to see those logs, you have to use a tool provided by the Android Studio, and that is basically called as a logcat. Now, as I said here, every app or system can generate a logs about the events or the errors occurring in the system. So whenever some event occurs or whenever some error occurs, every system or every computer system or computer program generates a log. Based on that, we can identify the current status of that particular system. And in order to identify those logs, we can make use of the logcat. Now why it is so important to see the logs? These logs are so much useful for debugging purpose. Okay, suppose if our app is crashing somewhere, then we can generate a log where we can identify what can be the cause behind crashing of our app. Okay, so this is the basic use of the logs. So logs are basically used for the debugging purpose. Now let's see how we can generate these particular logs here. Now for generating our own logs, the Android SDK provides a built-in class here, and that particular class is typically called as the log class. Okay, so this is the log class we have. Now as we said, we are programming with the Android as well as the Java. We haven't seen such kind of class in Java. Okay, but just remember, this particular class does not belong to the JDK, but this particular class belongs to the Android SDK. Okay, now where this particular log class is available, the log class is available inside the package android.util. Okay, now you can identify that if some package starts with Java, I can say that this particular class is related to what? JDK. Okay, and if a particular class package name starts with something called as Android, I can say that this particular class belongs to the Android SDK. this particular class belongs to the Android SDK. Now, since here we can identify the log class is present inside the android.util package, you can say this particular class belongs to the Android SDK. Now, as usual, every class in a Java has a base class, that is the object class. You can say this particular class is extending a built-in class from the JDK, and that is java.lang.object. So the most important thing is log class is basically class inside the Android SDK, which is the direct subclass of the class java.lang.object. Okay. Now log class provides 6 basic methods for generating a logs. The first method is called as static int d, and it takes two parameters. One is called as string tag and another is called as string message. Now here tag is something which is used to identify the message, and the actual message that we want to display should be used here. Now both parameter are of type string, always remember. Okay, now rather than focusing on the signature of the method, let's focus on the name. Okay, so if you want to generate some logs for debugging purpose, you can use the method static int d. Now d here stands for the debugging purpose log. Now if you want to generate the error logs, you can use static int e method. Now the e denotes here the logs used to display some errors. Now we have static int I. I stand for this particular method is used to generate the informational logs. Now V stands for the verbose logs. So in order to display some additional information, you can use the verbose logs or the method V. Then there is one method that is called as static int W. Now W stand for the warning. Okay, if you want to generate some kind of warning, then you have to use the method W. And the last method is called as static int WTF, and this particular method stands for what a terrible failure. Now generally this method is used in case of the exceptions. Okay, so if you want to generate the logs where your program is failing due to the exceptions, then you can use this particular method that's called as a WTF. Okay, so D is the method for generating a debugging logs, E is a method for generating error related logs, I is for informational, V is for the verbose logs, which is just to display some static information or some additional information. Warning is to generate the warnings, and WTF is just to report the exceptions. Of course, you can use any method at any time, but if you use this specific method, it will make your application look a structured application. Okay, so let's see how we can generate the logs here. Let's see how we can generate the logs here. So we'll go to our Android Studio, and now what we'll have here is we have one application created here. Now this particular application has the name as button. So let me create some relative layout. Now currently don't go into the details of the coding. Not all, what I'll do here is I'll display this button in the center. Okay, now what I'll do here is I'll create on click, and inside the on click I'll create some method called as show. Now we'll create this particular method inside a main activity, and this is our show method. Now as I'm saying, don't go into the coding details of this particular program, just watch the program. Okay, now here if I want to generate a log, so I can say log dot d. So if I want to generate a debug log, what I'll be saying, log dot d. If I want to generate an error log, what I'll be saying is log dot e. If I want to generate some warning log, I can say log dot w. So depending upon what type of message that you are trying to print, you can choose a proper method. Now let's say I'm just trying to print a debug log, so I'll say log.d. Now you can observe here, this particular method takes two parameters. The first parameter is also of type string, the second parameter is also of type string. But if you read it carefully, you can see the first parameter is basically a tag. Okay, now tag is something which is used to identify the entity. So if you want to identify the message, you can use this particular tag. So for example, I'll be using my name. Let's say I'll be calling it as Ajay Kapse, and suppose I'll simply write here it as this is simple debug message. This is simple debug message. Now if you see here, even if I return this particular code, this log is shown in a red color. The reason behind this is it is not able to identify the log class. Now, why it is not able to identify the log class? Because the log class is defined inside the android.util package. So we need to import that package. Now, how we can import that package? You can simply write import android.util.log. Then you can see the error will go. Otherwise, if you don't want to manually write the code, you can make use of the feature of the IDE. So you can simply click here. Okay, you can simply click here, and what it says, simply press alt and enter. So you can simply click here and press alt and enter. Now as soon as you press alt and enter, you can see it will automatically add this particular line here, that is import android.util.log. So the first important key combination we studied now, if you want to import the packages automatically, or if you want to resolve the errors automatically, you have to navigate to that particular error, you have to put the cursor on that error, and then you have to just press alt and enter. Okay, after pressing alt and enter, whatever the necessary steps that should be taken in order to resolve the errors, your IDE will take that. Okay, so as we can see, we have printed some log, and this particular log message can be identified with the tag name Ajay Kapse, and this particular message displays a message as this is a simple debug message. Now let's try to run our code. Okay, so we'll simply click on this play button, which will start running our code. So as you can see, this is building a Gradle. So it specifically Gradle build is means it's specifically in executing the Gradle scripts in order to execute your app. So it will build your app first, then it will install the app on your device, and after that it will execute your app. Okay, so these three steps is done by basically your Gradle. So it builds your app, and then it installs on your device, and after that it will run on your this particular app on your device. Okay, so let's wait some time. This will take some amount of time. As you can see, the Gradle build is finished and it is trying to install this app. So we'll just click on install. Now it will install the app. Okay, and it has launched this particular activity. Now as you can see, the activity is visible, the button is also visible. Now what we are interested in a logcat. Okay, so what we said is, after we click on this particular button, what it is going to do, it is going to generate a log message of type debug. Okay, now where I can see those messages. Now we already said that if we want to see the logs, we have one tool in the Android system, and that is basically called as a logcat. So you have generated one debug log, and we have to see that particular log inside a logcat. How we can see that? So let's move to the Android Studio, and if you navigate downward here, Okay, so if you can see the pointer, mouse pointer here, you can see there is one option available, and that's called as a logcat. So if I click on this option, one window will be open, and this window is basically now called as a logcat. Now as you can see, the number of messages generated here. So it is generating the messages continuously, and these messages are nothing but the log messages. These messages are nothing but the log messages. Now if you see it carefully, some messages are containing D here. Now these messages are the debug messages. Some messages contains a letter called as E. Now these are the error messages. Some messages contains the letter W. Now these are the warning messages. Okay, so these are the different types of messages we have inside a logcat. Now the problem here is, if we have this many number of options here, or this many number of log messages here, how we can see our message? Okay, as you can see, there might be hundreds of messages will be available here, the log messages. Now we have to identify our message here. Okay, now in order to identify our message, we can make use of a tag. Okay, as I said earlier, the tag is basically used to identify your message. Okay, based on that, you can specifically pick your message. So where I'll be writing this particular tag? So I'll be writing this particular tag in this particular search box. So what was the tag here? The tag was the Ajay Kapse. Okay, now currently you can see there is no message present or generated under my system with the tag Ajay Kapse. Okay, there is no such a message which is present inside my system with the tag name as Ajay Kapse. Now what we'll do is we'll switch to this particular Android device, and now we'll click on the button. Now as you can see, after clicking on the button, it will invoke the method show, and after invoking the method show, it will generate a log message of type debug. So if I click on the button, you can see it will generate a message of type debug. The message can be identified with the tab Ajay Kapse. And what does the message say? The message says this is a simple debug message. That's it. So this is how you can basically generate your own messages by using a log class. And if you want to see the messages that generated by the system or that are generated by your app, you can make use of a simple tool given here, and that is called as a logcat. Now let's see if I modify this particular method as log.e. Okay, and if I apply the changes and restart the activity. Okay, so it will apply those changes and restart the activity, and as you can see, it has restarted the activity. And now if I click on the button, you can see this time I use the method E. Now the method E stands for the error, so this is basically used to generate the error messages. Now if I click on the button, so the number of times I'm going to click on this particular button, that many number of time it will be generating the messages, and this time this messages will be of type error, because this will be starting with the letter E. Okay, so that is what we are calling it as the error messages. Okay, so whatever thing you write here, it doesn't matter. Okay, which method you use here defines the type of message that will be printed. Okay, you can write anything here. So suppose I can write any message here, something like that. Okay, so if this time if I use W here, and if I apply the changes and restart the app, if I again click on this particular button, you can see this time it will generate a message of type warning. And what it says, hi, my name is Ajay. The message that we have written as a second argument of the method W. Okay, now let's say I'll type something like that here. So I'll say app development lecture, Okay, now if I compile this program again, if I compile this particular program again, and if I click on the button, you can see, if even if I'm clicking on the button, I'm not able to see the logs. The reason behind this is very simple, because I have applied the filter as the tag for the Ajay Kapse. Now here if you see, I have changed the tag. So I have to apply the filter of the tag that I want to see. So simply I'll copy this thing and I'll paste here. Now if I paste here, you can see it will show the messages with the given tag. That's the tag name, app development lecture. So this is how we can generate the logs in our Android operating system, and which are useful for a debugging purpose. Now I think our meeting will end within 5 minutes. So we'll not move to the further topic. So this is what we have learned today. What is the basic directory structure of Android project and how to generate the logs in the Android. Now what we are going to learn in the next particular lecture is, we are going to learn about the manifest file. Okay, so just now we have learned the directory structure and how to generate the logs and the 6 different methods that are used to generate the logs. Now this is what you can try yourself today, and if you have any doubts till now, you can ask me. So please ask if you have any doubt till now. Yeah, please ask if you have any doubt till now. Whatever we have learned today or whatever we have learned till now, if you have any of the doubt till now, you can ask. Yeah, I think there is no doubt here. Okay, so what my suggestion will be here, today you have to create one app and you have to generate the various kind of log messages by making use of these methods. Okay, that will be for that will be yeah, is anyone having any doubt?
कंटाळा नाही बसून बसून सकाळपासून आला.
Hello, does anyone have any doubt? Okay, I hope there is no doubt. So we'll stop here for today. And in the next lecture, we are going to start with the point, and that is called as the Android manifest file. And this will be a last point in the chapter number 2. Okay. After that, we'll be actually proceeding towards the app development. Okay. So that's it for today's lecture. We'll stop here.